Hey, are we live?
Yes, we are.
Awesome. Let me pull up participants as we got some attendees coming in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is the Daily Lunch and Learn for January 26, 2022. I'm your host, Jared Rodriguez. I've been on a lot of different teams at Decisions, and I have enjoyed sharing Decisions knowledge with people. So I'm excited to be your guide for today. So if you have any questions, pop it in the chat and I'll be more than happy to demonstrate it. Or if it's a verbal answer, I'll tell you it verbally. If it needs more detail, then I may advise you to submit a support ticket. But if it's something we can resolve on a call, I'll show you how to do that. All right, already got one. Let's see. Okay. All right, we have a pre-submitted question, and this one from Fernanda. I have a question about integration. An external system needs to call decisions to run a rule engine. Decisions returns the results of the calculation performed on these rules. We may have 10 different rule engine types that may have common inputs. We still don't know how many would be common. The execution data volume of each rule is around 6,000 calls per month. What would be the best solution in this case? Make the decision handling of which rule engine to call in decisions or release different APIs, one for each rule engine. I made a drawing of these scenarios to facilitate if necessary. All right, so off the bat, what I would advise, if I'm understanding this correctly, we have an external system that needs to call decisions, and you may have several different types of rules that could be called. Fernanda, if you can come off mute, I just have a question for you. What types of rules are you guys using? Are you just kind of creating a statement rule or truth table, or creating a flow full of rules and then just calling that integration? Could you shed some more detail on that, if you can? I've given you permission to talk, so you can come off mute and give me more
Okay.
detail.
Hi, Jared.
Hey, how's it going? Long time no see. I remember you from training.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
do too.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Thanks. Sorry, what did you ask again?
I wanted to know, could you give me more detail on like how you have it set up? Do you just have like a flow that has like a ton of rules in it, or like what's your setup on that side?
No, that's the thing. I haven't started yet.
Okay.
Because I was wondering what would you guys would do in this case, because I'm not sure if it's better to configure the scenarios in decisions, meaning there are several rules that we need to perform and different types of let me call this like it's for an insurance company, so they have different policies for cars, health, and these kinds of things, and
Okay.
each one of these have different rules you have to run to return the result. So would it be better to have just one API server, one flow that they would call, and we would in the flow say if it's a car or if it's an insurance or if it's health, or would it be better to give them many different kind of APIs?
Gotcha. Okay, I think I understand. So let's see, I'm going to go to my local instance. Based on what you've described, I would actually advise you guys to use a rule set. We have a couple of flavors of rule sets in Decisions. So let me go into I'm just going to create a new designer project folder and just call it rule sets example. And rule sets, I think you are using version 7. So rule sets comes default into your decision system. All you have to do is click the create rule, and then you have access to a rule set here. The reason why I'm advising a rule set is based on what you've described, is that you have different types of kind of claims of insurance, right? Health, car, or stuff like that. And so with the rule set, let's see if I can, rule set, example rule set. in the setup of the rule set, we have several different types of rule set, what we call types. So for example, there's an instance, which is just what a rule set is. I'm not sure, let me just explain that so everyone knows what it is. A rule set is just a collection of rules that share the same inputs and outputs. So if I know I'm gonna have a medical claim that's gonna be coming in, or a type of insurance claim that's gonna come in, I can specify that as a type. So let me just say, it's gonna be of a string type because I don't really have an insurance claim, but let me just say insurance claim, right? And I'm gonna set this as an input here. So now when I save this rule set, any type of rule that I create for it, I'm gonna say this is my test evaluation rule, test eval rule. It's gonna automatically have that insurance claim, or however many inputs that you have for this rule set on all the rules that you create in this. So that's how that's the first thing I would use for you is I would advise for you guys is use a rule set, because you can define your inputs and then every rule will have access to those inputs. The second thing why I think this would be a good use case for you guys is because you can have different types of rule set, what we call, I think they're just called different rule set types. So we have one that's called a template with instances, which is actually in our new Sprint 3 application, we actually teach students how to use this. What this allows you to do is you can create different templates of rule sets for different situations. So for example, I can say this is my car insurance, right? I'm going to create, and what this does, it just creates another subfolder underneath your entire rule set. And within this, you can add your rules. If you want to add more rule types, let me go ahead and go back to the top part. Over here, by default, you only have access to evaluation rules on rule sets. But if you click the setup, you can easily give it other rule types. So if you have truth tables or rule tables or anything, you can add those and you have access to more rules. And that will also propagate down to the kind of other templates inside of it. So I can have one with car insurance and I can have my own set of rules there. And let's create another one just so you can see it. And then I can add, let's see, this was going to be like health insurance, right?
But my concern is about the volume of the data. What if we have like, what's the capacity of
Sure.
the?
So is your question like, what are ways we can design this to be more performant?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. So yes. So I'm gonna get there right now. So what I'm talking about here is going to address this is how you create separate rules for your different situations. Now to go to the other question you had, what about just losing it. Oh, performant. How would we design flows that would be better for all these calls? What you can do is in decisions, let's go to test flows. We have a bunch of different steps that you can utilize to run it in a performant better situation. That's a horrible wording, but essentially what you can do is there's a step called the run flow for list. Now, the cool thing about this step is it allows you to have a bunch of different types of run behaviors. You can send in an input and you can change the output if you have that desire, or in your use case, you probably don't want to change the output. You just want to specify an input to pass to it, and you just want it to run that specific rule set. So what you could do is you could just say, hey, this is going to be the input type of your insurance claim, if I had one, and then so let me just create the accounts. Let's say I wanted to run this for every account that I have. So I can specify the account. Notice that on the top part of this step, I have a flow. What the run goodness, can't talk. Run flow for list step does is it will run this flow per item that gets passed into it. So it's similar to like having a for each step inside the step. But the reason why this step is more powerful than the for each step is because I can run it in different ways. So let me remove my doodle. Over here is what you can utilize to have it run in a more performant way. You can have it run as a thread job async, or it runs it asynchronously. So it's its own independent thing instead of having a whole one long process just kind of running and soaking up bandwidth and things like that. You can run each flow individually. And so that would answer that performance question. You can handle it that way. And how I would think, if I understand your use case correctly, is you would add your rule set like inside this flow. So see how it says test flow, run for list, flow. I'm inside that step. That's kind of the thing you got to grasp here, is I'm actually inside that step. And I'm saying this is the flow when decisions hit the step that I want it to run several times. So I would say, hey, run rule set, run flow set, run rule set. I would pick my rule set. And then how also I would set up is I would have a truth table with all the IDs of the rule set of the templates, so that I can say, hey, if the customer is, health, then I want to run the health rule set. If the customer is automobile, I want to run the automotive rule set. And so then you can run it and have it perform that way.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that we should treat all the scenarios inside decisions, not create many different types of APIs for them to call.
You can. So
no, I know I could, but
yeah, I'm thinking.
We wouldn't have performance issues if we go this way. We could treat everything inside decisions and we wouldn't have any performance issues.
Correct. You can do it. So I guess the answer to the question, you can do it both ways. The only thing I can think of is it might determine how you want to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only difference I can see. If you want to have everything in decisions, this would be the path I would advise you to go down. If you want to have like individual API calls for different rules, you can do that. And you can just say, this folder contains the APIs accessible rules for cars and health. The question that I think really the difference that you probably have to ask you and yourself and your team is, how do you want to manage that? Do you want it everything in decisions and use this way to have performance
No,
benefits?
definitely.
Okay, then I'd advise this way then, because I really think the question is not necessarily which one's performant, but it's how do you guys want to manage it? Do you want to have several folders in the decisions tree to manage, or do you want it in one neat location?
Yeah. I mean, as performance wouldn't be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
The other concern would definitely be the how we manage it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in decisions, it would be much easier than to make many APIs call.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yep. All right, did that answer your question?
Yes.
All right, perfect.
Fully. Thank you.
Good, my pleasure.
And just another question that I didn't write in the email. If we build a flow and put and display it as an API, I know that decisions gives a link. And what would change this link? What parameters would change this link if we modify anything in the flow?
Good question. So the only thing that would change would be if you modified the inputs and the outputs. So let's say so let's say if I configure this as an API service, I'm going to allow get and post calls, and I'm just going to click done. When I view the integration, a new tab will appear, and that's actually 3 areas. It'll be your inputs and outputs will change it, and then also your authentication method will also change it. So those 2 things, because as you can see here from my post, I have no inputs or outputs, it's just the done. But if I change that, so let's say I'm going to add test 1, and this is going to be test 2 or 2. And then I'm also going to add, this is going to be my new output. And then I'm also going to change the authentication method just so you can see what changes. So now when I view this, and then I'm going to say this is the admin session. Notice that now I have more parameters. I have a session ID now,
Mhm.
It's also in the body, and also my inputs, right? Test 1, test 2, they're there. And
Mhm.
my outputs, right, are here too.
Okay.
So those are the 3 areas that would change the URL call.
But the URL itself is the after right after a call via post. This
Mhm.
URL, does that changes also if we add input and outputs and the authentication method?
Just changes the body. So the URL, so only if you're using a get call, see how like the get call puts all the variables of here. The get call variable URL will change, but the post call, its URL will be the same. It's just inputs and the body would change if you modify the inputs and the outputs.
Okay.
But yeah, to run this flow, it's always going to be like this ID. You can
Okay.
also, if ever, like if you're going to design this for a customer perspective as well, another cool thing you can do is you can give it its own like name. Oh, I didn't want to do that. So I can say I want to override the service URL and I want to create my own. So this could be like insurance, if I can spell, insurance rules. And then I can click done. And now when I view it, because I've customized that, it will now be,
Oh, okay.
my insurance rules. So if you want to make it something nice and neat and organized from a customer perspective, you can do it that way as well.
Okay, perfect, Darren. Thank you.
Mhm. My pleasure. All right. Any other questions? Go ahead. Laptop. How's it going?
All right, how are you?
Doing good, doing good.
So I can't figure out how to send you a screenshot of what I'm talking about, but when you send an assignment via email,
Okay.
by default, you have 2 choices. You can click on respond to this task, and there's another one. I think it's edit and view. So
Okay.
I know that there was at one point, so there was respond to this task and open and view this task. Respond to this task will take you directly to the task that's been assigned to you. Open and view this task tries to take you, in our case, to a case view, which the user does not have access to. So obviously they would, or not necessarily obviously, but they would like to remove open and view this task. I was told that that's a default and can't be removed, but there was a plan to remove it in future versions. And I am wondering if that has happened yet.
Ooh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about. I remember seeing that. If it gets assigned to you, then it sends you that email.
Yes.
I'm going to try to do that. So you can't remove that. What if, have you been advised like trying to use a different like HTML template, like using your default, or is that even changing the template, it still had that open and view?
I believe that I changed the template and I still
Okay.
got that.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's not my development ticket, so I can't see if it's done.
Sure. Yeah. Give me one second. I'm actually just creating a really quick task for me because I know what you're talking about. I just want to make sure it's just more of a sanity check for me. I want to make sure that I am talking about the same thing.
Okay.
So let's see. I'm doing it off screen. Just give me one second. Let me put it on screen so you can just see what I'm doing. I'm using our training server for training just because it has access to an SMTP server, so I can get that email. Alrighty, so let's do this. Here, pick create form. This is going to be a super simple form. Okay, button, and I'm just going to have a checkbox. I'm just going to call this test. Close this. And Jared at decisions.com. Do it. I think I have an action there. Do it now. Okay, so let me debug this. I think in my email it should come. Okay, no. Oh, that's right. I gotta not be logged in as me. Alrighty. Oh, here we go. Awesome, I got it. Respond to this cast and log into portal. I see what you're talking about. So I've confirmed in version 7, it is not removed because I got it. So here's that email. So I got it. So to answer your question directly, I'm not sure, but I'm going to send a quick note to the QA team. And I'm actually going to send them a screenshot of this and see what version that will be removed in. And can you type your email address in chat? Because if
Sure.
it takes longer than the call, I want to make sure that I get you that information so you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now that I'm looking at this, I have created a new email template because we're not using this.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's not tied to that.
Yeah.
On decisions, task emails. Do we know which version this will be configurable? Cool. And then I'm going to copy your email address. All right, I got it. So once I get a
Perfect, thank
response,
you.
I just put that in our QA channel. So if not, I know the director QA, so I can just walk over to desk and ask. But if I don't get a response during this call, I'll make sure I'll send you an email when I get the information.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
My pleasure. Any other questions? All right. If there are no questions, I think there's something that I've got to do in decisions that I won't going to demonstrate. I just got to think of what it is. The past couple of days, I've had the privilege of designing some integrations for our LMS. And so that showed me some really cool stuff. Let's play around with the report designer. So I've had to create a couple of reports. Is it reports or should we do tiles? Tiles are pretty cool too. Let's do reports. So stuff that so the report designer is really cool. I like it because it's one of the visual designers. But one thing that I thought was really cool about it is dealing with the account type. I was actually working for something for Will. I had to create a chart based on the count of how many records were created over a certain month. So to do like a month over month kind of thing. So let's use the accounts type, and I'll just use the created on date for that. So let's do the email address, and let's do created on date. Created on date. Perfect. Okay. So now in the data fields of the report designer, you have access to all the report's properties. This allows you to change its name, created on, created, date created. Let's just switch the name. Date created, so you can have your own custom naming. And you can also create a formatting too. So many times we want the short date time because it's nice and neat and organized. But many times we want to see like the full month. And I believe you can grab, yep, you can grab the month exactly, or I think it's the month and year and month, so that you can have the month and then the date associated with that, or the year and the month associated with it, but it's not the kind of number month. It's the actual, like, here is November, here's October, December, and all that fun stuff. So what I had to do is I had to use that formatting. I'm actually going to save that report. And then what I did with this is, in order to create a chart based on, like, month over month, or how many records were created on, this month, you can group it by that created on date. And so when I do that, I can have access to all the accounts that were created on certain months. So I have these 6 accounts created in September 2021. I have these on October 2021, so on and so forth. And I think all my accounts were created within the last year, within the last couple of months. So 2 ways to make a chart. You can create a view here. Let's say I want to create just a column chart. So I want to see, like, month over month kind of thing. I'm going to use the count created on date, and I'm going to say account creation, month over month, and I'm going to click OK. And then now I can see the month over month. So there's a lot of account creation in September. There was a little bit in October, there was a little bit in November, and then I had a lot of accounts created in December 2021. So that's kind of an easy way to do a month over month. Now, if I wanted to put this on something and I wanted to be able to have this on a page, I would just create a page, create a form. So let's say create example page. I can use the run report step to show the chart, I believe. Default view, yes, default view. Yes, so I can use the default view of chart. We'll test this out to make sure. Or if we want, we can easily just go to our data. It's not data, where is it? Reports, there we go, reports, charts, and we can also grab the columns and place it there if we want to do that. So let me move this one here. There we go. And if I pick that recent report that I just created with the count created on date, or I can pick the report, pick existing, my test report, and I believe it should show 2 column charts. This is month over month account creation. Go ahead and save. I'm going to add a normal folder so that I can show this. This is going to be my dashboard. I'm going to add that page. Pick the page, and we're going to do example page. So I just created, save this. And when I added that, you'll notice that I have a new tab up here in the top right. That allows me just to grab it and then add it. And as you can see, I have both charts shown there. One that's using the actual column chart control, or one is just changing the default view for the and you can use the changing the default view of the report view to show that. Murray, I'm actually talking with someone from QA right now. Could you email me your DT link so I can just share this with them and say, hey, this is what I'm talking about?
I think I was actually told that there was a DT. It's not mine, but I'll look and see if I have a ticket that I can send them.
Okay, sure. That'd be great. Just because I want to show that to them.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And my email is Jared. I'll type it in the chat just so you have it. Chat to everyone. Jared@decisions.com. There you go.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Okay, so that's just something really cool that I noticed that I got to learn in decisions, just doing month over month and utilizing that field. I've never really messed around too much with it, but I always thought that was a cool one. Another thing that I also got to recently do is I'm actually still working on our registration for our website. There's a couple of things that I need to fix and work on. And the main thing from there is using decisions to like embed a UI element or a form, which that was also another cool thing that I got to do. So let me create that. So we're going to create a flow. This is going to be simple work, simple work UI integration. Integration. And feel free, if anyone has questions, pop in a question and I can answer that question. But in the meantime, I'm just going to show you guys some things that I got to learn during my time building. So that I'm going to use the show form. Pick or create. I'm actually going to pick that recent form. Where was it? Oh, I created, that's right. I didn't create it on this server. Let me create it real quick. Checkbox form. Put a button here, and I'm just going to create a really simple checkbox like I did on our training Jada server. That's that there. I'm going to add these. And now, since I have a UI element attached to this flow, I have an option of using a user interface. Since it's a form, that's the one that I'm going to do. I can specify the path by either ID or path. I'm going to use ID. And actually, let me make this form just green, just so I know that it will appear on my dashboard. Let's just use, yeah. Let's do a light green. Let's make it a gray. I forgot that the text of the checkbox may be hard to see if I make it a really dark color. So now what I can do is I can view the user interface. I can grab this and I can open it, and it's just going to show me my form. And I think it should like max it out over the entire screen, as you can see. I have the option to configure its display settings in this integration window. I can say I want it at the center. I want it to auto size. So if I have another series of successive forms after this process, it will auto size accordingly to the form size of that particular one. In this case, I'm just going to leave it here. Login is fine for this case, for this use case. And with that setting, I'm going to copy this. And then I want to make sure that I save the simple UI integration. So now what I can do on my page, I'm going to make the top part a little bit bigger. So let's make this, let's make this 250. And then what we're going to do is, I think it's like rich HTML. There's a rich text display. All right. There is a particular display HTML. That's what it was. So I can display and embed an HTML or a URL link, and then I can have it like embed run here. So the example for this is, let's say I got to call a system or display some type of option available, and I have to specify it by a URL or embed something. What I can do is I can do inline, and the source type would be specify, and I believe, nope, not that. Inline embed. It's a URL, and I'm actually going to paste my URL there. And I believe what should happen, this may not work because I'm on a local, but we shall see. That's one of the fun things about decisions. You can just experiment and see how things work. All right, we'll give it a few moments. Let me refresh it. So it may not work because of my local. I don't think it works because of my local. Because all I've done is now I broke my dashboard. So I think this is something that if you're using a local, this may not work. And I probably should have if I used another server. So let me try this again. I have another idea. So I'm actually going to go back to this right here. I'm actually going to go back to and I actually want to open folder view. I think it'll let me do that. Change. So this is a great situation. So if you have this situation where you do something that locks you out of that folder, I can right click that folder instead of going into it, right click it, manage, and I could say open, let's see, open view, open folder view. So I'm not, because the part that's lagging or causing issues is opening that page. So what I'm going to do is I want to open it in a different view. Then I want to change the report using the cog on the right here. And then I want to find the hidden items. The reason I want to find the hidden items is because what's messing up my folder now is I have something happening with my page. So what I can do, if I want to remove a page off of a folder, I just have to go to the folder view the hidden data, and then I need to delete the page data. What this deletes is it just deletes the page that's associated with the folder. It does not delete the page designer. It does not delete any flows or anything that you have on that page. It merely just deletes the connection from the normal folder to the page data. So I'm going to delete this. And once I do this, now when I go back into my dashboard, I should be able to see this information now. Perfect. So now my dashboard, as you can see, it has that association removed. And now I can do some more troubleshooting and figure that integration out. So let's go back to my example page. And I'm actually going to let's go to a different server. Let me try this. Because I believe it will work. If I ever get in this is what happens whenever I get into a mode where I want to see how something works. Like my mind just keeps thinking like, oh, if I try this, it will work. Oh, if I try this. So let me create another example form show by embedding a URL. I'm doing this off screen just real quick. I'm just creating the exact same flow that I created just on a different server. Recent form 1. Put this here, put this here. Save this, do this here. Again, if anyone has a question about what I'm doing or a question related to their own use case, feel free to pop it in and I'll of course correct. Or if you enjoy watching me struggle, you can continue to watch me figure this out. Done, view. I'm going to do this based on a name session. Display settings, center. Okay, perfect. Now, I think I got it. So now instead of using my local host, because I think that was the issue, it was kept like looping and calling itself, and it was just causing issues. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different server. I created the exact same flow. And now I want to see if this will appear or run, or if we'll have it run there. Okay, so now I'm going to save this. What did it freeze? And go back to my page. Yep, let's break the lock just for a second. URL to the base, link name open, inline. Where is it? I think I want to make sure if I'm using the right HTML. HTML display. There's another form control. It is this one. Okay, so I'm pretty sure it is this one. Let me delete this one. Let's start from scratch. Let's just re-add it. Source type is URL. specify. All right, let's do URL. I'm going to paste that same URL that I had. And it's going to be, let's do inline. Let's save this. Okay, it's saved. Perfect. Close. Now let's add it back to that dashboard. Manage. Cross your fingers. Save. Dashboard. Hey, so it worked. Just I don't have the privileges to connect to Jada, so that's why. So okay, so it was a localhost thing. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't mistaken because I thought I've done that before. I just wanted to see it. Ooh, thanks, Murray. So ticket. Gotcha. Thank you. I will reference this with QA and I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So yes, so that's how you can inline, embed, and display HTML or a form integration on a page. This one just refused connect because I don't have the security to access and open up the ports that are needed to connect to jada.decisions.com. So yeah, but those were the fun things that I learned. So any comments or questions about what I showed, or any new comments or questions about something you're building that you need some advice for? All right. I don't see any questions, so I think this would be a good time to wrap up the lunch and learn. Thank you guys so much for attending. Just want to let you guys know we meet here every day from Monday through Thursday, 12 p.m. through 1 p.m. We take off on Friday, but through Monday through Thursday, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will demonstrate or something and have fun together on talking about decisions. So thank you for joining, and I'll see you guys around next time.